Hi, we are in New York in Cross-Border FinTech Conference 2025. So I have Jim Filice with me, and I pronounce it right, huh?
That's right, right. Well done.
Felice, felicidade, that's Italian, I can feel it. Yeah,
That's right.
So we just finished a very interesting panel, and I want you to give me an idea of, summary of what do you think were the highlights of the panel we did with you and the other participants.
Yeah. I think what's great about these panels is that we have absolute clarity of what the problem is, cross-border payments, right? They're expensive. They're not predictable. They lack transparency, accessibility. And the reality is we need to solve for that. And at Visa, what we're doing is we're trying to pull all these global rails together, the fragmentation of these global rails and the increase of these global rails, whether they're RTPs or local schemes or card rails, in the future stablecoin rails as new infrastructure comes up. Putting that all together so our clients can reach those rails through a single point of connection. And if we can do that and simplify the infrastructure layer and the interconnectivity of these global rails, then our clients can innovate. Our clients can build simpler experiences, more cost-effective experiences for their customers and their businesses and consumers.
And in the industry, we used to call it, the term is not used that much anymore, but it's an aggregator. And it's a term that it was, the first companies that wanted to aggregate payment systems. In the way you created, you're aggregating, but also you're creating a payment rail, which is an alternative payment to other payment rails, like bank transfers, etc. So your clients are mostly business clients that are face the customer on the sending and the receiving, correct?
That's right. And in fact, we also leverage those bank rails, those same bank rails, 65 different local schemes around the world, local RTPs, not just the card rails. We also connect to 16 card rails. And so that's where we're trying to drive the simplicity so that, a provider, a client of ours can access all of those rails simply through our Visa Direct capability. And so as we make that simpler for people to reach these global rails, we think that that'll drive the cost down and lower the fragmentation and improve experiences that consumers have today.
And most of these clients that you mentioned are fintechs, alternative payments, they're banks too.
That's right.
And it's anyone who moves money, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. I think banks, fintech, digital apps, et cetera, all want to leverage our capability, because you can imagine trying to connect to every global rail that's out there. It used to be okay to connect to SWIFT, and you thought, okay, I could do cross-border payments because I'm connected to SWIFT. Well, what about the digital wallet? What about those other bank accounts? What about the unbanked? And to be able to connect to every rail individually that's out there to reach those endpoints that are out there where consumers and businesses want to transact is near impossible. And so as a global network, we feel like that's our responsibility to be able to bring that together, right?
And you mentioned transparency, and for cross-border payments, transparency is mostly exchange rates and cost and fees, if there are. So that exchange rate component is very important in what you do as a payment rail.
That's right. Yeah, real-time FX, the ability for people to understand costs. Transparency in fees certainly is important, but it's transparency in where my payment is.
Okay.
Right? Nothing scares people more than finding out that $200 left my bank account, hasn't reached where it was supposed to go, and no one can tell me where it is. That's nerve-wracking for individuals and, in certain segments of the economy. It's nerve-wracking for large businesses that are moving money, let alone that migrant worker who's, moving their hard-earned cash to their family.
And is this important because communication is instantaneous?
That's right.
And we're trying as an industry to make those payments instantaneous too, because the person who is receiving the money knows immediately that the money was sent.
That's right. That's right.
That was not the case before. It is the case now.
Well, I think it's getting there. I don't know if we're quite there yet, but you're absolutely right. We live in a instant on-demand world. So I have a 14-year-old son at home, and he constantly reminds me how inefficient financial services are. He's opening up a bank account, he has some digital apps, and he wonders why it takes a couple of days to move money from one to the other. And for him, he doesn't understand that. And I think we need to build for that type of innovation. We need to build that expectation. Everything's instant today. There's access to data. You think of what's happening with AI and stablecoin. Data and access is just getting even stronger. Cross-border payments need to do a lot of work to keep up, let alone even just meet the expectations.
That's true. That's true. That's really true. Now, for CrossTech, we try to bring people and companies, people like you, companies like Visa, to network, to do business together and create opportunities. And how do you see this as a valuable tool for a company like Visa, who is present at this event and other of our events?
Yeah, we know that collaboration is an accelerator for innovation, and at Visa, we cannot innovate in isolation. And the reality is, conferences like CrossTech bring together thought leaders, bring together partners, potential future partners, right? That could just spark that innovation, spark that next thing that's going to unlock better experiences for consumers and businesses. So, these are the kind of events where we learn as much as we're hoping to educate as well. Yes. And together we can collaborate, and it's conferences like this to make it happen.
And we mentioned in the panel something that is important in this line that we're taking is that we know that there are some gaps in innovating in maybe the sending side or in the receiving side. And sometimes one is more prevalent than the other, the importance of one and the other, because there's two sides always in the cycle.
Yeah.
And this innovation which is brought by startups or new fintechs, that when they're built, they can, they interconnect with Visa, and you are able to put them in the map in a way, almost instantly, if they have a solution that for a market it's important.
Yeah, I think infrastructure is hard, right? And global infrastructure is even harder because you have different regulation and different requirements in every market. And so what we do is we do that heavy lifting. Our goal is to do that heavy lifting so our network delivers that kind of value to customers. So what we say is we kind of put the power of money movement in our clients' hands, remove the complexity so that then they can innovate and do the things that they need to do, which is deliver better experiences to consumers and businesses, to your point, on both ends of that network.
Good. Thank you very much, Jim. Thank you. It's been a pleasure having you.
I appreciate it. Yeah.
Good conference, I hope.
Yeah, thanks. Looking forward to it.